Hello, friends, and welcome to the Exploring Washington State podcast. My name is Scott Cowan, and I'm the host of the show. Each episode, I have a conversation with an interesting guest who is living in or from Washington State. These are casual conversations with real and interesting people. I think you're going to like the show. So let's jump right in with today's guest. Hey, so I'm sitting here with Jesse Baker. Well, actually, I'm sitting here and he's sitting there, but you guys know the drill that I'm sitting here talking to Jesse. Jesse's with Jet Hospitality. They were on before. I have a bunch of questions about our last conversation, Jesse, but to explain, and we're going to flip the script, you're drinking coffee in a coffee shop right now, which is the background noise. What are you drinking and where are you?
Man, I've got to give a shout out to my local Starbucks here, 6th and Michigan in Georgetown, down here in Seattle. Yeah, you know, Jet City. Where it all started.
Right. All right. Okay. Well, and what are you drinking today? If it's pumpkin spice, this interview's over. Just warning you.
No, I'm a cold brew guy. And, you know, I've got a lot of people give me flack for Starbucks too, but, you know, they've got a refill program where I probably get 3 or 4 or 5 of these cold brews with my little number scan, so it's like a buck.
Oh, that's okay. No, and I tell you what, their nitro cold brew with sweet cream. That's I'll drink.
So shout out. They
there we go. Yes. All right. So Jesse, I've got some questions from our last conversation. Not that you're going to remember them, but let's go. So last time, you guys were still restoring a yacht. And you had mentioned it wasn't being used as an Airbnb, but it was your floating office. What's going on with the yacht?
Well, Scott, I'm glad you asked. That is where it all started. The yacht's still floating. I can say that. We fully restored it, you know, and we took it out a few times this year. Finally, did a trip over to Poulsboo, so that was nice. Got a 2-dayer over there and stayed overnight. You know, what we did is ended up dropping a new engine into it, rebuilt the transom, the stem, and did a whole hull makeover. So now it's in good shape, and I keep it in South Lake.
Nice. Okay, so that was the first question. We also talked about Pacific Dunes last time, because that's where it kind of started for you guys. And there was this mention of a bridge, and a bridge sounded awfully grandiose to me. So I wanted to broach that topic. But before we hit record, you mentioned you guys built the bridge. So let's talk about Pacific Dunes. What's happened in the last couple of years there? What have you been doing?
Yeah. Well, we've really been adding to the vintage of the property. Definitely same vintage. We added a coffee shop, lobby, and gift shop really in the old clam building. So that was pretty nice achievement with a little beer garden out there. We got our wine and beverage license now, so guests can really enjoy a cold one. And then as far as infrastructure, as you mentioned, the bridge, we just finished that out this spring. So that was really quite the project. And now we've got, you know, instant access out to our own beachfront. So it's about a 5-minute walk instead of 10 or 15 before. So man, we got
it sounds pretty good. In fact, earlier this morning, I looked up the Green Lantern just to see what's going on out there, and it looks like the Green Lantern's under renovation. It's like they painted it. It doesn't look the same.
Yeah, well, you know, I'm friendly with the Green Lantern myself. We are the closest property to it, right down the street. Shout out. So yeah, they're usually every other year, so they do a good job maintaining that property, and so that's a favorite. You know, whenever I meet someone, I'm just like, yeah, you know, Green Lantern. And everyone says yes, and then I go, yeah, we're the one next door. So it's real easy to tell people how to get there.
So at Columbia Point, how many guests can you accommodate now on a nightly basis?
Columbia Point.
Oh wait, I'm sorry. Yes, not Pacific Dunes. I bounced. I'm reading the wrong thing. Pacific Dunes. Okay. Let's stay there. How many guests can you accommodate now?
Yeah. Well, we've got 20 RV stalls to start. You know, that's a good basis. So call it 40 guests, 40 to 50 there. But our lodging we've got five tiny homes, 5 motel units and 6 glamping
Right on.
homes. So, 16 times 2 would be 32. Yeah, so I'd say we're around 75 guests, for
Okay.
overnight between the park and the
Okay.
lodging. And yeah, but we're starting to move towards group events there too. We built a wedding
Okay.
pavilion area, so that is kind of our newer concepts are renting these tiny homes or the glamping as a
Mm-hmm.
village, and so it allows us to compete against larger lodge style homes where people want to have 10 to
Right.
16 people, but it still gives people their own walls
Okay.
between their buddies.
So, on our first episode, you were jokingly called the original innkeeper, and you guys were sharing
Yes.
stories about septic lines, and you've had some lovely challenges out there. Um, Putting you on the spot, what's your favorite time of year to go out there?
It's a good question. I love it actually, even in January or February, to get in the glamping tent when it's nice and rainy and soggy out. But I'd have to say probably May. May and early June, everything's still
Hmm.
so green, very lush and but
Oh,
warm. It starts to warm up. So yeah, I'd say May and June before it dries out.
okay, all right. And so you're kind of focusing on this. Not I don't want to say focusing, but like weddings are now an opportunity there. So what sort of pavilion did you put in?
Yeah, it's pergola style. I would say it's like a two sides and a center,
Right.
focus area, kind of built over our path right down by the water. Typical fits about 60 to 80, on two sides of a path. Real easy. Um, we did it in a nice way though, where it kind of fit in. We didn't
Okay.
overdo it.
Okay.
I would
So
say.
it kind of fits in
Yeah.
with the scenery and all of that. All right. But I'm going to
Yeah.
break from my routine with you. And before we talk about the other two properties in Eastern Washington,
Yeah.
since we last talked, how many properties have you guys? How big's the portfolio now?
Well, since we last talked, I think we've added
Yeah,
a few
I think you
states.
have.
Yeah, I think we have. We're at 10 locations across
That's
five
awesome.
states. So right now I'm saying it's Wyoming to
Okay.
Washington, uh, kind of the Rocky Mountain corridor. So we're in Utah, Wyoming, Montana, Idaho, and Washington.
And let's talk about those locations. Why are you picking those? Because of because you guys have kind of this whole desire. Um, how do I want to describe this? Kind of like a passport system. Like you want people to travel between the locations. And so what's the criteria to pick the next location?
That's man, we gotta maybe bring you on the consulting team first. That's you know what we're doing right now with our outdoor portfolio is we're continuing to kind of follow the national park scene down into Arizona and New
Okay.
Mexico. That's easy. That's easy for us. As far as eastbound, I would say we're heading out towards Rapid City, the Black Hills. I see that as kind of the entrance to the west. So those are where we're pushing towards. As far as the rest of the West Coast, we've kind of left, California and Oregon
Hmm.
out of play, but we like Nevada, and just kind of carving out what we have. What else I can say is we've got this newer concept that's this motor inn concept that's kind of targeting the
Hmm.
highways. So like I-80, and the Lincoln Highway and these corridors where infrastructure is built out. It's kind of an exciting new thing for me to learn about all these different government infrastructure projects that are built across the whole
Hmm.
country, where there's now a corridor of housing needed. So the boutique roadside extended stay motel that have long been
Hmm.
forgotten, you're seeing them get picked up here pretty on the
Okay.
regular now.
So
So yeah, that's a little bit about our
awesome.
future.
That's very cool. I did see, and I got to look here. So, warning, I'm switching a screen for a second. I've got an article from April in the Carbon County Comment. Now, that's a paper I've never heard of before, but The Virginian Hotel has
Yeah,
new caring owners, and it's you. What's you bought a multi-story hotel?
the oldest, well, the first and oldest and best bar in Wyoming, included with it, sir. But also, it's used to be the largest between Denver and Salt Lake. A lot of business got done at the Virginian. So, yeah, we bought that from the Scott family. It was quite an honor. Hotel had been owned by the Vernon Scott and his family for over
Oh,
100
wow.
years. So almost, I would say the whole town came out and we had kind of a ceremony and they read a real nice letter they wrote for us and couldn't have been more welcomed. So felt honored to be talked about in that article and both Aaron and myself were real lucky to be the owners of that hotel.
So
I'll
how
tell
many
you what.
rooms does this place have? Let's tell us more about this one.
The old Yeah, so the acquisition included about seven total buildings in town too. So it's almost majority of the commercial property in Medicine Bow, Wyoming, which is a small town of about 250 people. Say it's about 45 minutes west of Laramie. So it's not too deep, but it's North Carbon County. And the hotel itself has about 35
Okay.
rooms total. I think only 8 of them or so have their own bathroom, so it's kind of set up in different suite style or
Mm-hmm.
shared. So that's exciting. It's a haunted
Oh,
hotel, so that's kind of the first one we've acquired that way. A lot of ghost history out there, so we're learning about that. But they're good spirits,
okay.
they tell me. Yeah, so that's what I can say. I mean, it's a living, breathing museum. You've got the Owen Wister dining room there, and of course, the Virginian has a whole history of its own. This Western series, and Owen Wister wrote the book, and so really comes to life when you walk in
Right
the
on.
hotel. So for us, we've moved towards more of the experiences and the adventure side of the business, and this has given us kind of the heck of ghost hunting in the Wild West, and kind of, not to mention, they've pulled dinosaurs, T-Rexes out, just north of town. This is like the archaeology capital of the entire
Oh,
country. So I'm learning so much about this at this hotel. It's
that's
crazy.
pretty cool, man. That's actually so you bought other commercial buildings and you're going to have plans for those in the future, I guess, awesome.
That's right. That's right. What I like to tell people is to think kind of like
Mm-hmm.
McMinimans, and we've got another 20 unit bunkhouse down there. We've got a 6,000 square foot old garage shop that would become a music venue and could become a
Okay.
brewery. Um, we've got the bank building, which is currently split up in with some housing, but someday I'd like to bring a bank back there. But, I'm no banker. And then the other couple buildings we got out back include the lawyer's office, and right next door is the jail. So it's really something. Maybe we put a little speakeasy in the jail, or we can still lock
I
them
was
up
going to
if
say
we
if
have to.
a guest gets out of line, you let them dry out in the jail overnight. Uh, all right.
Yep, yep. So hope to make. We're hosting our first murder mystery
Oh, right
event up
on.
there, November 1st through the 3rd. So we're going to really try to make that place quite the experience. It'll
Now,
be
the
fun.
only thing I could think would be better is if you did this in Washington State, but we'll give you a chance. You'll figure it out.
Yeah,
You'll figure it out. So let's jump to Columbia Point. Let's reel it back into Washington. What's happening out at Columbia Point?
yeah. Good, good. I'm glad you did. Good time for us out there. Mark and Amanda, our innkeepers, have got to give them a shout out. They've really developed this ag
Mm-hmm.
venture concept. We're at harvest season. All the plants and crops have come to life, and so we've really prided ourselves on um, having a full immersive guest experience out there, where our guests are walking out, getting fresh eggs, picking tomatoes, grabbing the herbs for their steak, and it's all obviously complimentary. But now that's winding down, and we're got the pumpkin patch harvest kind of Halloween thing going on. We're gonna get the hay bales out and I don't know, but we've done really well out there. And great community, Kettle Falls, Washington. Uh, I would say that whole valley is just been real happy, and we couldn't have done it without those dedicated innkeepers. They've been there 3 years now, and so wanted to thank them. And yeah, man, I think we told you about Lazy Lake next door
Right.
though too. So that property got up and running, and has become our extended stay. Really, it's a 4 bedroom, 3 bath house with 6 RVs. So that's like the venue if you want the family reunion or you want the grad party, and it's right down on the lake. So got that market covered, and Lake Roosevelt's just beautiful. I recommend anyone get up
Yeah.
there.
No, it is beautiful out there. So how many at Columbia Point, how many once like how many berths do we have there? How many people could
Yeah, 13 room hotel, mostly fully renovated. I've got a few rooms we kept for contractors and kind of loggers and stuff. So we got a nice spread of different
Mhm.
room types. We've got 24 RV sites up there. And then we rounded out our glamping portfolio and added 2 tents up on the hill this year. So we've got a nice spread of everything but tiny homes at Columbia
So
Point.
during the winter there, are you guys operational? Because winters get a little more extreme in Eastern Washington than they do at the coast. What's going on during the winter there?
It's a nice community, Scott. We have a nice mix of
Hmm.
extended stay in our RV park. We do keep some transient open, about 8 sites, but things slow down obviously, and we do a lot of snow removal. That's
A
what I
lot
can
of
tell
snow
you.
removal.
Yeah, we got a bobcat out there, and it's keeping the driveways cleared and keeping the fires hot. We've got a big shop out there that we're trying to turn into more of an
Hmm.
event space, have some live music and stuff. So I think we'll try to pursue that next year and get that same F&B, or the beverage license like we have at
Okay.
the Dunes. Um, we've added coffee at 3 out of 10 locations, and so Columbia Point, we're trying to determine if we want to bring that in house or kind of go with the mobile coffee shop out on the
Mhm.
corner. So that's kind of some exciting stuff coming up for next
So
year.
I got to ask you because in the earlier episode, your partner mentioned, no to decaf. He was adamant about no decaf. Like if somebody wanted decaf, they could just drink water, which is a man after my own heart. Did you guys cave? Are you doing decaf at the coffee shops?
You know, he's opinionated about a lot of things. Aaron is. I like that about him. And so yeah, we at the coffee shops we've got decaf. He did twist his
Man,
arm at least in our Chitonia one, but not at the Dunes. We found that a lot of it just sat around and get used. I don't think people want it. It's like, why would you wake up to face that rain without a little caffeine?
yeah. I gotta. I mean, I'm kidding. I mean, decaf's fine, but I just thought it was pretty funny. He was like, no decaf, and he was just. It was awesome. So,
Yeah,
with
yeah, it's
without putting
passion.
you on the spot, because deals are complicated. Deals are sometimes best not talked about. But do you have any? Can we hope for more things happening in Washington?
You absolutely can. There's always
Okay,
hope. I've
all right.
got, we've got our eyes on some. I love Washington. It's just, it's still. I would say the market's still priced pretty
Yeah,
high out
yeah.
there. And it's a good thing. I like. Well, more. We want to round out something closer. I go to the Coeur d'Alene side, the edge over where further down closer to
Hmm.
Spokane. There's some beautiful properties that I guess wouldn't technically be Washington, but
Right,
cousins
right.
close by. And then up by you guys, I'm always looking. I'm always looking, but I think we have Seattle Metro pretty well covered, so we don't really. We're trying to continue to build
Right.
that map, so just
Well,
stay
let me
tuned.
ask you this: if somebody, what do you guys, if you don't mind, what are you looking for? What's a what are some of the criteria that you guys look for to determine if a property is a fit for what you're doing?
Yeah, another great question. And that's, speaking of the Virginian, that's funny because um, after we had purchased that, other people had heard that article and we got 3 or 4 calls
Yeah.
from people. Their criteria was anything from a 20 to 40 acre
Hmm.
ranch, that has, big bed and breakfast style lodging, to these motor inns that I'm talking about, where we look for stuff that's, 25 to
Hmm.
50 unit
Hmm.
roadside motels. For the markets, it's always been about the demand centers in the national parks, or the highway exits where, there's a lot of business going through. So there's always economic
Right.
factors. But me personally, there's got to be a little bit of
Hmm.
a story
Hmm.
too, or a little bit of a challenge. And I think I like to tell people that we do the deals that, nobody else would do.
Right.
Where the stuff's just been sitting in there like, holy smokes. But I like to get my hands dirty.
Well,
So
you had talked about before, and there was this kind of joke because my real estate, I deal with foreclosures, right? So you guys were talking about, the meth hotel, or it was some, most people, you say that 4 letter word and people go running for the exits. You guys, not that that's what you want, but you guys seem like you're the type of guys to roll up your sleeves, get in there, tear it apart, put it back together, build that sweat equity. And I think that's pretty cool, frankly, that you do this, because so many people would look at a project and go, "Yeah, we'll knock it down and we'll do something else here." And you guys are seemingly more about the, I don't know what's the right word I want to use, but like the preservation and repurposing and reuse of the facility, given what you've got. And I like that.
yeah,
I like that.
yeah, I appreciate that. Yeah, I appreciate that, Scott. And I'm glad you brought that topic up. I grew up in Platteville, Wisconsin, and my grandma ran the Main Street Preservation
Okay.
Community. I've always been about old buildings, antiquing. I guess it was kind of how I was raised. But so then you couple that with, I would say, low entry point. When you're a scrapping on entrepreneur, sometimes you've got to do the jobs that no one
Right.
else will do. And for Aaron and I, getting into the commercial side of the hotel industry versus residential and Airbnbs, what we had been doing prior to COVID, I think you know there's a lot of opportunities for people that are willing to put themselves out there and bet on them, bet on yourself a little bit. So whether it's finding an owner carried project that's got no financial
Hmm.
operating history, got to figure it out, and uh, or taking, some of those 4 letter words like you're dealing, meth and old, the ones we don't ever like to
Right.
say. Sometimes you got to remediate, delete, and press reset.
Hmm.
But the bones of the building, are usually
Yeah, I
pretty
mean,
good.
not
So
without challenges, but
uh,
normally if you remediate, yeah, I've got a project right now I'm working on like that, so I got it. So, question, I love to ask this question. I'm putting you on the spot with it, but in a bad way? What's been a bad surprise that you guys have had? You took on a project, I don't care what state it's in right now. Have you taken something on and you went,
yeah.
"Oh my god, I didn't see this coming"? Has there been any of those? Did you step in it type
Oh yeah.
things?
Oh yeah. Well, I can admit to went to build some glamping tents on the hillside down there in Escalante, Utah, and up came the old inspector, flagged us right on day one, and that was a big
Oh.
wake up. Of course, this was a master plan 25-acre property, and we're building a 36 below 36-inch
Mhm.
deck, to put a tent on top. There was no structural to it, but before we could put anything in the ground, we had to update permitting, and they really put their foot down quickly. So that threw me a curveball, as far as time and planning, but
Right.
it's a good thing ultimately. I went in and met with the town, and ended up getting a large chunk of our master plan approved for to action. and doing it the right way, which I always like to do
Right.
things the right way. Learn that lesson. But in a lot of these other properties or communities that we go in, there's no real permitting process for
Mm-hmm.
glamping. And so that was a lesson for sure. And then the other thing would be frozen pipes. That's all I can say about that. And you got to dig those pipes deep in Idaho and old galvanized steel and cold winters. Man, I tell you what, I've had a lot of calls that said, "Hey, we're flooded again."
Again, being the
Um,
operative word. Again.
yeah,
Yeah.
hot water tanks and galvanized pipes.
So, what are
So
you guys doing to remedy these? Because the cold weather is going to continue, right? So, what are you doing in these properties? How are you handling that?
yeah, we do it well. We do it the right way. We don't want to go in there and patch it up. So it's usually install techs or redig the lines. We had to redig the lines over at Cottonwood because there were no shutoff valves to one side of the well. So our biggest building, it was just had a nice pond going for all spring. But we dug the whole thing up, and yep, sure enough, the old guy excavator said, "Yeah, they put this stuff way back in wrong pipes, so you got to put in new lines." We do it. So anyway, most of it though you can expect once
Yeah.
you've seen
Yeah.
10.
Yeah.
There's not much you
Okay.
haven't seen.
So, this is going to be, I got a couple more questions for you, but you guys got a passport.
Yeah.
What's the passport? Talk about the passport.
Hey, I appreciate the plug. Happy to. The alt trip passport, and we've got 3 tiers rolled out. But basically, we're going with a gold, platinum, and a primo type of model. So we want our RVers to be able to have, some club discounts, and we want to promote that map of properties across the
Mm-hmm.
5 states. So our passport concept offers some benefits for RV. Not dissimilar to other organizations out there, but within our own network. Then we've got a mid tier, the gold standard passport, which includes that's a lodging element. I believe we want to incorporate pick of the different lodgings of the different properties. Have maybe 10 free stays
Okay.
type thing. Uh, and then the primo level is what we're really trying to promote this year. This alt trip concept, which is we've got this dream of building a travel website within our portfolio and kind of across the country. But completing our alt trip challenge, which is all of the properties within the network in 1 year, and having some lifetime
Okay.
status. So for this first year, those that would take the primo package and get all the stamps, they've got a lifetime membership discount that nobody
Has
else will have.
anybody completed this?
So what we've got a couple influencers, but as far as this passport program, we just rolled this out. But the other thing this gives us the opportunity to do is have some of these hard copy passports. When you meet someone, it's nice to just follow up and mail them
Mm-hmm.
something as a nice gift. So we'll be having some philanthropy we can do with this stuff. We've started getting into donating trips and auction stuff. So it's another cool topic, but these passports are something fun to just actually hand out a hard copy too and say, go get these stamps and have fun
Right. No,
doing it.
that's kind of a cool idea, actually. I think that's pretty cool. Before, and we're gonna dump the clutch and talk about personal life here. Before, one of the questions I always
Oh boy.
ask guests is cake or pie, and you picked cake, and you also mentioned because your wife had a baking site going. Is she still doing that?
Man, my wife is doing everything, and she's amazing. She still is doing that. Her Hey Danny Bakes is out there. She gets to quite a few restaurant openings, and she actually had a few of her menu items featured with Ethan Stoll on a couple of his restaurant rollouts. Her biscuits and gravy and her shrimp and
Wow.
grits. So she's doing amazing. Yeah, and I'm still a cake guy, but as I get older, I'm leaning more
What?
towards pie,
What? Oh my
but
gosh.
either either or. Yeah, it's
All right.
growing on me. So she also, she's featured in Seattle Times too. She gets to submit a recipe every couple of weeks, and so I get to do quite the array
So
of taste
you
testing. So
have to be the taste tester. That's
yeah,
asking an
yeah.
awful lot
So
of a guy. I mean, that's that. Oh, so I'm
yeah,
going to put you on the spot. Your wife won't listen to this, so she won't know. Has she ever made anything you went, yeah, this isn't going to work?
never. No man can say that. Uh, right? No, I actually usually like everything. She knows my taste, but I'll tell you that on our first date, she took me to one of our first dates. We had sushi, and I'm just a
Yeah.
Midwest guy. And she gave me the unagi or whatever. Man, I was chewing on that thing for about 3 minutes before I finally spit it out. I said, "What are you trying to do to me, lady?"
So have you?
So now I've grown up a little bit. I've got a little more of a
Okay,
taste
I
for
was just going to
sushi.
ask if you.
She
She hasn't
hasn't
thrown you
thrown
out.
me
So
out.
you've got
Yeah.
the palate has been sophisticated up a little bit. You've leveled it up just a little bit.
Ah,
Um,
yeah. I went to one of these nice sushi experiences in downtown Seattle, and I think it was like 16 rounds. They kept coming at me, and I made it. 14 out of 16 were thumbs up. I
okay,
made it through, so I guess that's a
that's
pretty
pretty
good
good. What
rate.
didn't you like out of what? What?
It's another thing that I was chewing on for a while, type thing. It's not
Yeah,
going to
just
swallow.
kind of. Yeah, I mean, all right. So she's doing.
But
So she's writing
yeah,
for the Times. She's putting articles in the Times. That's very cool.
she's been doing that for a couple years now. She gets to once in a while they'll have her on a main feature too, but just a different array of a lot of things besides baking too. She's got quite the reach there, and I know she really
Okay.
enjoys that. So
All
it's
right.
cool.
So got to ask you, since you're kind of in the Georgetown area, kind of ground set,
Yeah,
the epicenter, if you will. Where's a great place down there for lunch these days?
I got a new one for everybody. It's a rebrand of one of the old bars on Airport's Way. It's called
Mods.
Mods. Maudes. Yeah, Mods. And I was stumbling down there. I was sober, of course, but I was still stumbling around. And I was looking for a good lunch spot, and I went in there, and the first thing they have on there is the original Wisconsin cheese curds. Of course, I'm a Wisconsin guy, so that's the only place in town, and I ordered them, and uh, let me tell you, they went down just like the state fair. So, really, really great cheese curds, and they serve Miller Tall Boys, and great for the Mariners game. So that's my shout out to Mods on Airport Way in
What was the
Georgetown.
place? What was it before it was Mods? Do you remember?
I think it was the Square Knot Diner
Okay.
before. It's not. It's right next to 9 Pound
Yeah.
Hammer. It's down on the
Okay.
south end. So you got to walk your way down there. But got a great bartender. Every time I've been in there, she's in there. So she must
Okay.
run the
Gotcha.
place.
All right. So you're, Wisconsin. Have you ever tried Wisconsin burger in Spokane?
No, I haven't, but I will
There's a
be.
place called
Now that
Wisconsin Burger, and it's in this residential neighborhood. So it's
I'll be
kind of
damned.
odd to me. It's this corner. There's this little commercial building in this nice older residential area. I think it's South Perry Street area. Don't quote me on that. The Spokane listeners will yell at me no matter what I say about Spokane. I just get in trouble. But yeah, Wisconsin Burger. Went there one time. I can't say that it's going to make you feel like you're at home. But I can tell you it was a good solid burger. And so, and they had cheese curds. So, you might,
Uh huh.
if you're heading that, going east side of the state, add that to your list and give it a shot. Maybe give it a try.
I might do that. I might do that. In fact, I got a chance to go over there here first part of November. But how about Culver's? If you want to talk Wisconsin burgers, have you ever been
No, I
to a
have not.
Culver's? Okay, well, yeah, they're in probably 30, 40 states now. But yeah, I grew up and they started in Wisconsin. So Culver's Butter Burgers are probably the all-time best, I would say. And if you get a chance, it's a deluxe burger too. We're not talking like a White Castle type thing. It was like the original solid beef
Okay.
smash
All
burger.
right.
Yeah,
So,
yeah. So
so
shout
what's
out
a
to
good burger
Culver's
in
too.
Seattle? What's your kind of, what else you got?
Yeah, good question. Well, Tavern Burgers are pretty good. That's at most of the pubs down here. Loretta's and Starbrass. I think we've also got downtown Burbs Burgers, kind of the food
Mm-hmm.
truck style, and then trying to think, because you can see I can get out a lot of my
Right,
own
right.
neighborhood.
Well, okay.
I don't go up north too much, but of course people rant and rave about Dick's. Heck, I
You
haven't even been
haven't
there,
been to Dick's?
but I haven't. Yeah, so tell me, should I go up there? Is that worth?
I gotta I gotta be honest with you. Back in my late 20s and early 30s, when I was living in Seattle and I was going out at night, Dick's was great after going out. Um, I
Yeah,
still, when I go over to Seattle, it's a coin toss. Most of the time I stop there. They're just,
yeah.
yeah, they're solid. They are what they are. I'm not going to tell you that it's a great hamburger. Oh, this is delicious, but there's something about them, and their fries are outstanding. Yeah, you got
Yeah.
to try it, man. You
I'll
got,
check. I
you
think I
need to
need to
do
do
it.
it. I need to do that tip. I've been to the gum wall. I do the
You
Seattle
did to the
stuff.
gum wall.
Well, I will tell you on the last topic of burgers, I got a guy down the way here. It's Herfy's in the next to the Wells Fargo. This old boy Charles runs it, and man, his number three, the bacon cheeseburger, probably that's where I go.
Okay.
So Charles, if everyone go down there, and that guy would be rich.
Okay,
They should.
awesome. Now, see, that's
Yeah.
Herfy's
So
was a chain as a kid growing up. Herfy's was a chain in the Tacoma Saddle area, and they were really good burgers. And
yeah,
I don't think it's a franchise anymore. I think people have bought the locations, kept the name, and
I
yeah,
think
awesome.
so. But yeah, he's been taking care of me for a few years, but it's one of those things I gotta have the
Right,
urge for
right,
it.
yeah.
So so what else, Scott? We hit a lot of topics, but you got to look under the hood right now. So what else
Well,
can I answer for you?
you said some things that intrigue me. Number one, you got the wedding venue out of the coast. I think that's awesome. You're thinking about putting a music venue in. I'm all about places that have an opportunity for local musicians, regional musicians to play. So I encourage you. My encouragement is keep doing the developing this. And I think you guys should look for something in like the Walla Walla area, like not like in like Dayton or
Okay.
Waitsburg, just a little out of Walla Walla. Because
Uh
Walla Walla is
huh.
such a, as I know this, Walla Walla is a huge draw, big wine
Yeah.
country, blah blah blah. But that area to me seems like it would be a good fit for the vibe you guys have. And so I would encourage you to look there. Um, I want you
Appreciate
to, I
that.
do want
Yeah.
you to, I'm going to put you on the spot. You may not be ready to talk about this, but this motor in concept you guys are doing, can you elaborate on that a little bit more?
Yeah, I'm happy to. I think that's one of the coolest things that we're trying to accomplish. And what I'm saying is that an outdoor hospitality brand transitioning to compete against kind of the
Mm-hmm.
traditional brands. So it started with a vision, and our vision is to go into these interstate high demand center highways where there's three or four
Mm-hmm.
franchise flags, like a Holiday Inn Express, a Travel Lodge,
Right.
a Super
Right.
8, for example. Those three. The motor inns that there's, two or three there that would be private, unbranded independent
Mm-hmm.
hotels. We want to go in under the right circumstances and acquire these at the
Mm-hmm.
right rate, uh, when we're trading for them. And the idea is to refresh and recharge. So we want people that are contractors, people that are traveling across the country in their electric vehicles. We're going to be high on
Mm-hmm.
the EV. And then the recharge element in the morning is heavy on the coffee again. So we're going to have a coffee and a burrito type food truck
Right.
environment. Usually there's space in these. A lot of them are
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
U-shaped or a couple straightaways, so there's usually space at the side of the
Mm-hmm.
parking lots. And ultimately, Jet's going in there and branding these as boutique roadside, you know, overnight or extended stay experiences that are going to compete and hopefully overtake those
Right.
branded properties in terms of rate. and we'll have a mix of extended stay for our occupancy. So I think it's a great concept, and really the
Okay.
future for us to try and compete as uh, yeah, I can tell you outdoor travel is excellent for us. But we've got people in the glamping industry now putting up tents for $65 in your backyard, with a porta potty next to it, advertising. So it's a little bit capped out on the rate side. I really see this motor in concept as a way for us to keep our brand on the forefront and have our edge and bring it over to the hotel
Got it.
industry.
I like that idea a lot. That's very cool.
And so I hope to expand that into Washington too. And right now we're focused on the I-80 corridor and a little bit of the Rocky Mountain areas more, but certainly we all know there's plenty of these hotels in every town. It's just forecasting kind of where the demand's going to be. And
Well, there's like this one. There's this motor inn on the way into Wenatchee that you see every time you drive into town on Highway 2, starting on the right hand side of the road, and it always looks like it's under some form of duct tape renovation. Like there's somebody trying to patch a hole in the pool. There's somebody boarding up a window, and but yet it seems like a location that if somebody were to take it over and polish it up because of the proximity to Leavenworth, the proximity to Lake Chelan, proximity to Wenatchee, that it would
exactly.
occupancy seems like it would be really solid. Um, and you see those by the side of the
Yeah,
highway around in Washington a lot.
you do, and I think you're right. Imagine if that had a beautiful sign and a fresh coat of paint and some cedar to make
Mm-hmm.
it pop, and maybe a coffee shop outside because it's a great location. So that's part of the idea, and then we want them to look up and find what is Jet, and then they're like, oh, Jet did all this outdoor cool
Mm-hmm.
stuff, and now that this is their hotel concept, we want to
Right.
try that out.
Oh.
So I think it's part of it's the real estate. We've always been a real
Mm-hmm.
estate company, but part of it's building out this brand and something
Awesome.
cool. Like Ace Hotel has done a really nice job. Pineapple and like Hotel Jupiter in Portland. Those are some good examples that we're kind of modeling this
Mm-hmm.
after, and a lot of people are doing it across the country. So we'll see
Awesome.
how it works out.
Well, Jesse, I'm gonna cut this one a little short just because you're a busy man with things to do, and
Yeah, I'm 15 minutes over, Scott, but I always appreciate
yeah.
my time with you and all your listeners. And we covered a lot of real estate
There
here
we go.
ourselves today, so this has been
Well,
really
listen,
good.
man, thanks for coming back on, and all the best.
Yeah, look forward to it, and good luck, and hope everyone has a great holiday season, and maybe we'll
There
catch
we
you
go.
next spring.
Take care, man.
All right, take care.
Hope you enjoyed the show. You can reach me on Twitter at ExploreWaState. I'd love to hear your comments. You can also visit our website at explorewashingtonstate.com. If you know anyone who would like the show, it'd be amazing if you'd share the show with them. This is the biggest way that we grow this show. Good old word of mouth. I'm glad you were here with me today, and I hope to have you listening to the next episode. See you then.